My name's Matt.
My name is Keith.
And this is
Okay.
I was trying to harmonize with you.
No, I don't.
So we've never really done... I wouldn't say this is like a serious episode, but I feel like any episode that we usually do is like heavy-handed on the ridiculousness.
So the first thing was how Matt and I talk about his stutter.
Yes. There are definitely times where so I have a stutter. I've had a stutter my entire life.
I do not.
This is where you tell me, you're like, oh, I have a stutter too. You're like, I had a stutter when I was younger. No, so I have a stutter, and I feel like you and I, like, there are definitely times like where I will be frustrated, or there will be things, and like it's not something where we're like making light of it in that situation. But I feel like when it comes to my stutter, I feel like you are really good about knowing like when to make light of it, and I feel like
I have good comedic timing.
I feel like all couples, they have times where they'll like make fun of things that maybe
That's gonna sound nice.
What?
That.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
I don't know, like, how do you describe it? Like, the stuff that couples will sometimes like make fun of each other for, that like no one else would be able to make fun of you for.
I would describe it as the stuff that couples make fun of each other for that no one else can make fun of them for. That's how I would describe it.
The thing
it's called a relationship.
The thing I just said.
Yeah, verbatim.
Verbatim. You just Keith explained it to me.
But no, I mean, I just think that's a normal relationship. You have things that you could go really deep into this because I think I heard someone talking about like certain words that are used and between certain people. And it's like you would call like your partner like, oh, honey, but no one's else is like calling you honey, but because that's our relationship.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fair.
I think part of like being an adult is knowing when it's appropriate to use certain words outside of your relationship.
I think for us, we are comfortable enough around each other that sometimes that extends to jokes and things that maybe like we have been insecure about in the past, or things that maybe like we have struggled with. And I feel like it's almost,
you have to be really careful with me because a lot of times it really hurts my feelings. I'll cry.
I've never made you.
I'm just saying in general, like, my feelings get easily hurt.
Well, and I feel like that is sort of the thing of like, we know each other, so we know times when it would not be appropriate. And then times like when it is sort of like this thing where we, like, you make a joke and you're like, okay, that was sort of a good one, but also you're a turd for saying that. I'll insert a clip. That
happens a lot. I say a lot of good ones.
That's not true. I'll insert a clip from the astrology episode that I did not include because we had not talked about my stuttering. I'm telling you, I know what I saw, and I saw what I know. Okay? They're very handsome. They're very funny. They're very charismatic. I think it actually said funny twice. They smell good a lot of times.
That's just because they have a stutter.
Okay, listen here. If we're not proponents of making fun, I have a stutter. And so Keith thinks he's being real funny. So I just wanted to sort of preface everything with that because I don't ever... It's like one of those things where it's like, I am comfortable with you to do that, but it's like, I would never want someone else to be comfortable.
And I would never do that to anybody that I didn't have a relationship with.
I feel like you have to like prompt me with a lot of these questions because
you don't want to seem like you like to talk about yourself.
No, I just like don't necessarily like, I don't really know how to go about.
You do like talking about yourself. As you already know, this episode is all about Matt. Like, growing up, what kind of challenges did you face with your stutter?
One time I had a friend tell me to spit it out, and I spit in their face. Because that was like, That is not, I feel like I would be way more likely to do something like that now as an adult. So I do not even know what like came over me. And I'm not someone who like knows how to spit. So it was like more of like a, like a spray. I definitely feel like my stutter was a lot worse. Or not even feel like my stutter was a lot worse as a kid. I think was a lot more challenging then, as well as I didn't know really how to like navigate it. And there's still, I think, definitely like some, not shame. That's not there's still definitely like some embarrassment at times, but I feel like there was a lot more embarrassment then. And so it was really just trying to figure out how I like navigate the world in like while having this thing that is there all the time.
Well, what were like some things like when you like as you got older, what were some things that you found to help challenge like or to combat your challenges or to overcome those challenges that seemed to help you like accept your stutter and things like that?
So I definitely got into a really bad habit of saying the word like. I think it's one of those things, which I almost said it just then. And there's sometimes where I'll be editing the podcast and I just well, I
mean, I feel like that's pretty common though. Like,
right.
Even if you don't have a stutter, I mean, that's just like one of those things that people do when they're talking and they like, see, it just happens.
Well, and I think it's one of those things where it will naturally come up and it makes sense. But I feel there would be times where I would be, I would almost say like a springboard, using it like a springboard of, okay, this is how I get into this next sentence by saying the word like, or yeah.
Like when you're having a hard time stuttering, do you have like tricks that you do for yourself to like push through it? Or do you just like explain that? Like if you're talking to someone and you start stuttering, is there something, do you have like a mind thing, or is there something you could like you do personally that like pushes you through that, or you just let it go by itself?
I think that you have really helped me a lot to take my time, because I think that is part of it for me personally, at least, which I mean, everyone who stutters like stutters in a completely different way. And everyone who stutters, I think, has their own path with stuttering. And so say, for example, I would say that I'm in this place in my life where I stutter a lot less now than I did whenever I was a kid. I think I'm just sort of someone that's wound tightly already. And so there are times where almost it has felt like, oh, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And it's like, is it my anxiety or it's my stutter?
Do you know, sorry, go ahead.
Wow, interrupting some of that stuff.
Well,
no, hold on, wait. I am going to finish what I was saying.
Okay.
So with that being said, I think what has really helped me a lot within the last several years is just being okay with not having to say something constantly, because I think for a long time I was afraid of inserting a pause, just because with how I naturally stutter, it does sort of like create a block and just sort of like a weird awkward pause. And so I think being okay with not necessarily saying something, I think that has really helped me a lot.
I'm still waiting for the pause.
The pause? What do you mean?
For you to stop talking. You went into like for school after you got out of high school, you went into like performing arts. And I feel like someone like for me, like if I would have had a stutter, I'd been like far away from that. Let me find a job where I don't have to talk, or do something where I don't have to talk.
So I stuttered really bad. I don't even remember like when it sort of subsided, but it really went until like my high school years. And my dad also stutters, and he still like regularly.
I didn't know that. Like I've never noticed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he had like a very like public facing job where he would like have to talk to people and stuff like that. And so it was never really presented like to me, because I had someone who was in my life who also stuttered. I never really, it was, I never necessarily felt super limited in what necessarily I could do. And it was more so I just felt awkward doing it.
Do you ever stutter like when you sing?
No, Are you asking that as like a
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just like with how you were looking at me when you said that? No. So people don't really stutter when they sing.
Well, and that's what I think I knew that, but then I was just like, I wonder if there's anybody who does.
I mean, I sort of everyone like stuttering has their own like unique journey. So maybe there is someone that does, but I mean, as far as I am aware, you don't stutter when you sing. You don't really stutter when you're talking with someone else. I mean, and from my personal experience, as well as from the experience of people that I have talked to.
I want to be like, so for everyone watching and listening, call us and let us know if you've ever heard Matt stutter on that podcast.
I'm like, there are so well. It's funny because there are people that I know that have never heard me stutter just because of like when I've met them, like how frequently I'm around them. And then there'll be times where I am stuttering, and just by my personality, they'll be like, what are you like?
I don't think that anyone has ever heard me stutter. Sorry.
That was one of your lesser funny jokes for stuttering. You had some much better ones.
Well, you have on here about the show Survivor, because the current season there is a gentleman on there who has a stutter, and it's addressed on the show. And Jeff like brings out like how do you want people to handle like when you stutter? Do you want them to correct you, or do you want them just to let you work it out? But I feel like that's probably something that's different for a lot of people.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm like getting emotional. No, I'm like it's like because we were watching earlier today. And I like when the first episode, I didn't realize necessarily that he was stuttering. And then I feel like, which maybe I was like not paying super well attention. But I feel like they featured him a little bit in the first episode, but you didn't really get a lot of him in that episode. And then as we started to watch it more, like you were the one who sort of like brought it to my attention. Just because sometimes I don't even necessarily like notice that stuff. And I think part of it is, which like what he brought up in this last episode that we were watching is like, you don't really see people represented in stuff that are stuttering in like, not even necessarily like a positive way, but just like a neutral way of like, okay, this is just like a part of his life. And so to like it just like, and even now, like sort of, I'm gonna cut some. I don't know. It's just like really cool because you like, I just remember like as a kid, like growing up, like I like there wasn't an example of someone stuttering in like a positive way, I guess.
Well, I think like I think I remember as a kid, like you see it like in cartoons and stuff,
Right?
and it's like this comedic, like almost like an idiot.
Right.
Like they portray it as an idiot who
right.
can't talk and blah blah blah. Which clearly you're not an idiot.
Well,
so
that's the sweetest thing you've ever said to me. No, I mean I do not get me wrong. I think there are a lot of funny things like about stuttering as far as like the situations that sometimes happen. Like the times like when I've been at Subway and someone thinks I'm gonna like sneeze like onto the food, or like one time I had a teacher think that I was having like some sort of like medical emergency,
like a stroke.
I'm not even really sure exactly for sure what she thought, but I mean, because when I stutter, it's like I'm like I don't really know. I like get like locked up, and I think why it hit me the way it did was just because like the conversation that he was having, just like talking about not seeing that, and I've thought about that stuff before, which is like sort of like off topic, I guess, but like when people talk about like DEI and they're like saying it's one thing, and just understanding that like there are multiple different ways that you can include people. It just sort of hit me in the way it did because it's like you don't really see like that type of representation on stuff. Even
like you showing like emotion talking about this, because I don't think a lot of people think of a stutter as like something that's like would cause somebody to have so much emotion attached to it.
Right.
Because you think about it, it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. But when you talk to somebody, I mean, it can affect your life like in a
Right.
huge way. And I don't think people realize that even growing up as a kid, like sometimes kids are mean and you get made fun of for stupid stuff, but then to have something like a stutter, like I can imagine like that being a huge deal and something that is just at the forefront of your mind every time like you were like doing something.
Right. It definitely, even if it wasn't necessarily something that happened, I feel like there were a lot of times where maybe I like got in my head and maybe made it happen because it happens so frequently that it like if every time I read in class I stutter, then I'm going to associate it every single time with me reading aloud in class. Oh, I'm going to stutter, whether or not I like was going to do it in that moment, but because I do it so often all the time when I'm speaking, it's like, okay, well now I'm just not going to speak anymore because I'm going to stutter.
This is probably not even I just think about like stuttering. Is it only when you speak? Like it's like a physical thing?
Like, do you mean like, do I stutter when I think?
Or like when you're like reading?
No.
I didn't think so.
I mean,
but it's just like
I mean, I feel like that.
thought.
Well, but I mean, I think like that's like a valid question because it's like I don't know if people like think about that stuff.
Do they? Is there anything that they know like that causes a stutter that you know of?
So I would say I'm a bad researcher when it comes to stuttering
because now I'm like, man, I want to look into this.
Well,
like,
I mean, so I think
you
like
talk about your dad's
right.
stuttering,
So like that's something that's interesting because like he didn't have anyone in his family who stuttered.
That was my next question.
Right. So it's like, oh, it's just this like thing that happened, and my brother and sister, they don't stutter. Yeah, there's like a lot of just stuff that they don't know about it, and there is I definitely am not as well versed on information about stuttering as I should be. I think.
I mean, I wouldn't say should be because there's not like some gauge of where you should be.
Yeah, I guess it. I don't know. I wish that I could answer anyone's questions about stuttering. If you're ever wanting to find out more information about stuttering, there is a really great podcast called My Stuttering Life, and the host Pedro, I've had the opportunity to be on it a couple of times, and it was a really cool experience, and he is just very nice and just a very cool guy, and he interviews so many different people, and he just gets to hear like a variety of stories, and so it's just super, super cool. And I'm going to leave his information below as well, the My Stuttering Life podcast, so make sure to check that out. So if you want to know more information about stuttering, don't come to me. Go to Pedro because he is way more knowledgeable than I am.
Just a note, you don't come to Matt about stuttering or astrology.
You can between the two, you can come to me more about stuttering. I don't think I've ever had a job where I wasn't regularly talking to people. Actually, okay, hold on. So let me transition. In middle of high school, I started to do theater, and then I started to pursue it in college because I started to stutter less. So I was like, well, I've always wanted to do this thing, so let me now do this thing and feel a little bit more confident in it. And so through that, I had a lot of opportunities for like different types of jobs, and usually those jobs involved a lot of talking. And so there was one time where I had this opportunity for this job, and I was working sort of like a reception type of thing. And the person who was training me, I picked up the phone, which I mean, I was fairly comfortable on phones at this point. There's sometimes like where I will stutter, whatever, but I was fairly comfortable on the phone. And I think I said the word like a couple of times. And I got off the phone, and she was like, you did pretty well, but watch out how many times that you say like. And I told her, I said, well, I totally understand that. I actually only said it as many times as I did just because I stutter, and sometimes that's just this way of me either getting out of stuttering or it's just sort of a bad habit. And she goes, okay, well, if you can help it, try not to. And I just, to this day, I just think it's so funny because it just,
She's like, if you can help to just try not to stutter if you can help it.
And I know that she was meaning like try to say like less. I don't know. But just it.
Well, maybe they'll watch this episode and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel awful. I'm so sorry.
I had a teacher one time reach out to my mom and tell her that she was.
Why didn't she reach out to you?
I think they or I don't know if she reached out. I think they ran into each other somewhere. And the teacher was like, oh, I loved him so much. He was such a great kid. And I can't remember how it got brought up, but it got brought up about me having a stutter. And the teacher was like, oh, I hope that I never made him feel weird, blah, blah, blah.
Did she?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Was she one of the people to be like, spit it out?
Oh, no. No. No, I never had any teacher say that to me.
Are there any pet peeves that people do about your stuttering or?
I would say okay. So I sort of going back to the survivor thing, just the conversation that they had whenever they brought up about the stuttering and just saying oh, is there something that you want us to do? Is there essentially it was, is there something that we can do to help you in that moment? And I think that Mitch, the guy on Survivor, I think he said, oh, if you know what I'm trying to say, you can say it, right?
No.
Was that what he said?
He prefers to just let him work it out.
Oh, got it. So that was a really cool conversation just because that is there's a couple people that I think I've had that conversation with of what would you want me to do in that instance? If I have not had that conversation with someone and they interrupt me to try and finish what I'm saying, very annoying. Very annoying. Just because it comes off. Oh, go ahead.
So would you say just kind of an overall thing, if you do run into someone who stutters, is to let them work it out. And then after you're done with that conversation, be like, hey, is there a specific way you'd like us to handle this? Just like Jeff did on Survivor.
I think that was very cool just because it showed that you care how they feel.
Right.
Because for me, yes, there may be times where someone's wanting to help, but I interpret that as you're not being patient with me, which is very frustrating just because, yeah.
So, I feel like that'd be a good question for viewers or anyone. If you know someone who stutters, maybe ask them and then reach back out to us and let us know what other people feel about it and everything. Because I think that's always interesting because I think different people are going to want to handle it differently.
Right. Well, and there are some times where I will be with you and I'm I need you to introduce me or what.
And if you don't know me, sometimes I'm kind of awkward in social situations.
And
there's times where Matt, and he has told me before, if you want to step in and finish what I'm saying, go ahead and do it. But I just sometimes feel so awkward socially that I feel like timing is weird, and then I'm just standing there oh God, I know what he's gonna say, but I the timing's off, and then I'm just frozen. That's something.
Yeah, if you specifically ever want to introduce me, I will never be upset.
There are times where you go to say your name, and then I'm stuttering trying to say your name because trying to finish it. You're and then I'm because I just don't have the timing.
Yeah,
I don't know how to interject in the right moment.
I just, yeah, things people and it's not even necessarily. I don't even know how to describe it. Just if you are around someone that's stuttering, I would say for benefit of the doubt, just let them finish what they're trying to say. And you just provide some active listening and pay attention. Because it's if you, I could be halfway into my word, and if I'm stuttering and you already know what the word is, okay, well then just listen.
Count how many times they repeat the sound and then tell them afterwards. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
So I would say that is probably number one. And I would probably also say very close to number one is when people are oh, did you forget your name? But okay, I will say now, which I don't feel like I ever heard anyone say it as a kid. I would say now I hear it a lot. And typically what I will say is, oh no, I have a stutter. And I'll just like be very straight faced. And they're like,
is that what that one person did that one time? Were they kind of shocked by it?
Yes. And they felt, and I'm never trying to make someone feel bad, but I think who in their right mind, I would love, who is having just a back and forth conversation with you. I'm not saying that they're someone that is struggling from other things that they are dealing with. I am saying they're having a back and forth conversation with you. You are hearing them talk to people, and then you ask them what their name is. They're able to say their name, but they're sort of like a little slow to jump off. The fact that your response is, "Oh, did you forget your name?" it's just insane to me. And I would say the older that I get, the more sort of pointed I am whenever I say it, because I am not ever gonna like write someone off, because that, like, in that moment I am feeling awkward.
I will.
In that moment I am feeling awkward. They are feeling awkward because they don't really like know what to do. So they're like, oh, I'm just gonna like try and like make it less awkward. But it just
Well, I think if that ever happens and someone's like, and you do mess up, I think when someone says, "Oh no, this," and explains why they did it, and then I think the important thing is to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Well, right. So yes. So in that situation, the person was like, "Oh, I am so sorry." But there have been times where I said it, and they're like, "Oh," and I'm like,
they're like, "Sure, Jan, sure." Sometimes Matt does forget his name, though, guys. So always ask him that question.
Yeah,
if
always ask me if I ever hesitate when introducing myself. I might.
Would your middle name work better for you?
Probably.
Or would you stutter on that sound too?
No, I think I might would, but
say your middle name,
Brady.
Okay. There it is.
But I also I knew you were going to ask that, so I had like a rhythm that I was like internally feeling before
internally.
I succeed really well and when I'm beatboxing. You ready?
The stutter helps.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, do it.
Do what?
You're beatboxing.
I'm beatboxing? Okay, here we go. Let me think for a second. What? This is going to be really good. Okay. Let me think of a couple of words first. Yeah. Wait, you got to give me a beat.
No, you're the one beatboxing.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Boom, 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 boom. My name's Matt. This is Keith. And here we are. We're sitting not on our feet. We're sitting on our rears. Here's some chairs. Look at Keith's hair. He got it cut somewhere. Yeah, my name's Matt. This is Keith. He is talking to me. This is the podcast. MMMK. Yeah, you better listen to what we got to say.
Is that beatboxing?
Oh, no, that's rapping. That's freestyling. Oh, beatboxing is... Oh, okay, listen. Have I told you about how I thought... Okay, we're going to be done shortly, but have I told you about how I used to really think that I could beatbox?
I mean, you've attempted it since we've been together.
Have I really?
Yeah.
I've been like, oh,
that's
listen to me try. Oh,
that's
okay.
Why I
Okay.
Not freestyle.
Okay. But that was pretty good. See, you got a 2-for-1 special.
It's like a Sagittarius is a horse.
Oh my gosh. I'm still trying to figure out what the word was that I was thinking of. Not equestrian. That's not the word. I don't know. Okay, so let me try my beatboxing. Are you ready? You're gonna make fun of me. Okay.
I mean, that's what the whole episode's about.
And then you got.
Oh, there you go.
Really? That was good?
That's the best that I've heard you do.
Really?
See, the stutter helps. We covered all of our points. and then some.
I feel like, okay, I'm going to have to do some heavy editing, I feel like, on this one.
I don't know. I feel like it's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just partially because I am just not used to filming the podcast and it feeling as sincere. I'm sure I'll edit this episode fine. I feel like it just is not.
Are we done recording?
We're almost done recording. We're not.
Is
done
this
with the
going
outro.
in the episode?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say we don't need to keep talking like this if this is not going in the episode.
No, I feel like we don't really do episodes that are like as sincere as this.
Yeah, no, this was I like this kind of episode.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like?
I mean,
what do you not like?
Wait,
what do you mean?
But this is more like I like those serious conversations.
Oh.
Because I feel like it's like a strength of mine to have like a good conversation with somebody, and so
I feel like it's a strength of mine too. I just think it's more. I just love you. I chuckle. So, what are you laughing because? Wait, why are you laughing?
I don't know.
Oh.
So, yeah.
No, I think maybe we can sprinkle in a sincere conversation every now and then with no costume.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
It does. You said you like the sincere conversation, so maybe we can sprinkle them in every now and then.
No, I think it just helps to, instead of just being silly all the time, to have like moments like this, and I think it reaches to other people. So I think it's good to have variety.
Keith, what nail polish are you wearing today?
I am wearing Fae and Fiend polish. It's a new collection that just came out. He may have some left, but I know like it was like selling super fast. But he's got several stuff up, and I'm sure he'll probably have something out soon, some new stuff. But really awesome polish. Got a really good mission. So I think he donates part of his profits to LGBTQ plus charities, so which I like.
Are you gonna ask him what polish I'm wearing?
You're free to tell us.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm wearing Victorian varnish. I'm not sure what this name is, but it's magnetic. And yeah, we'll insert some pictures because Keith's gonna remind us to take some pictures.
All right, time for some feta dip.
Everything's better
with feta.
I was going to say everything's better with me.